So I was on my way to visit my mom. I never passed by the street. The school is right in front of the street. I don't know, for some reason, I felt it in my heart to pass by the street. I guess during the time that I passed by, it was recess time. And all of the teachers have their kids over there by the playground section. But not this dude. He had his kids way away from the other teachers and out of sight. So when I saw that this teacher had all of the students away from all the rest of the other teachers and their students, in itself, that was sketchy. And I'm driving slowly past her and I see something This man was taking pictures of the little girls in his class. Little girls, they're in pre-K, bro, pre-K. He was even touching her hair while he was taking a picture of them. By the way, he was so close to those two little girls. Mama Bear came out. I literally pulled my car over and I pulled to the side and I said, "Excuse me, sir. Are you legally allowed to be taking pictures of your students, especially in that way?" Because I, as a Sunday school teacher, I know legally without parents' consent, I should not be taking pictures of my students. He starts stuttering. Yeah, they already signed a parent consent form. That's usually for field trips. You don't take pictures of your kids for your personal use. Oh, hold up, it gets worse. So after I catch this man taking pictures of his little pre-K student girls, and I'm confronting him because legally you're not allowed to be taking pictures of your students for your personal use. Oh, I wish I had my phone in this time, but I was so angry I just busted out of my car. I didn't even grab my phone. I told him, "Why are you here? But all of the kids are over there." And while I'm confronting him and he's giving me any random excuse, a little girl comes and puts her hand in his pocket. In his pocket. He didn't even flinch. He did not flinch. That is how I knew that wasn't the first time any little girl had put her hands in his pocket. As a teacher, you do not allow a child to come and do that to you unless you want that. I was so infuriated. I told him, "Let's go talk to the principal right now." He was refusing, so I called the school right then and there. So while I'm calling the front office on this teacher who not only took pictures of his pre-K little girl students, but he also let a student put her hand in his pocket. And I'm on the phone telling the secretary everything that's happening because I refuse to leave those children by themselves. So the front office secretary comes out. She's walking out. She sees everything and I am explaining to her in front of him. So he knows that he's not going to get away with this, not in front of me. She sees where he's at, like secluded from the rest of the teachers and the students. She even told me, "This does not look right at all." So I asked to see the principal so I can file a complaint on this teacher so they could open an investigation. She tells me that they were going to open an investigation, that we're going to ask the rest of the teachers, but they couldn't give me any more information on this because I wasn't a parent of those students. But now I come to find out that he's still working there? I don't know if they took this investigation seriously. Protect your kids.
So I grew up out in the sticks, and when you grow up close to any kind of nature, the parenting technique that people go to the most is to tell their kids just to go outside. And so my brothers and I spent a lot of time outside, and we'd be so far away from the house that we got to the point where we were like, we don't really want to go back to go to the bathroom. So we just kind of made it a habit to do it in nature. And one day our city cousin came out to visit, and she was like, "I need someone to walk me back to the house because I don't know where it is and I have to pee." And we were like, "Oh, Emily, just find a friendly bush to do it on." And she thought that was disgusting. But we're good at peer pressure, so we talked her into it. And her biggest concern was that there was no toilet paper out there, so we explained to her, there's a thimbleberry bush with big soft leaves, just use those, they'll be great. And we sent her off into the woods to experience defecating outside for the very first time. And a few minutes later, we hear a scream. And it turns out that she couldn't tell the difference between the thimbleberry leaves and the stinging nettle leaves.
Am I wrong for telling my son I was disappointed after he and his wife lied about my grandson's birth date? My son, 23, and his wife just had a baby boy. Everyone is overjoyed and excited, but there have been some issues that have risen recently. When my daughter-in-law was pregnant, I suggested that I host a welcoming party for my grandson right after she got discharged from the hospital. I made arrangements and even emptied a room for them to stay, but for some reason she was against it and said she'd rather spend the first few weeks at home with her newborn. Not only that, but she said no to the welcoming party. My husband and I talked to my son and he said, "We'll see." But just a couple of days ago, we found out that my daughter-in-law had given birth 2 weeks ago and no one knew about it. My nephew told me and I immediately called my son. He confirmed it. I told them this was not acceptable, lying just because they didn't want a welcoming party and love and support being given from family. I told him I was disappointed because for one, he ruined our welcoming for our grandbaby, and also I invited family members and they're all rightfully disappointed as well. He said it was his last resort after I kept pushing and made his wife uncomfortable, but that was not appreciated because we were just trying to celebrate the new family member in a proper manner. We had an argument and he ended the call upon saying I ruined his joy for his newborn. My husband started texting him since he stopped replying to our phone calls and is now threatening to block my nephew for tattling, but I think that my nephew was decent enough to inform the family. Otherwise, God knows how long my son and his wife are going to hide their son just to keep us at arm's length. We've always been kind and welcoming to my daughter-in-law and her family. I don't know why she would do this and disrespect the family like that. On the other hand, some family members see it as a justified action because we insisted on the party.
When I was in high school, for some dumb reason, our favorite thing to do would be to give somebody a round of applause when it was asked for by a grown-up, and then we just wouldn't stop. So the key is you just clap, and then when you think you need to be done clapping, you just clap louder, and you keep clapping, and you keep clapping, and the person being applauded never knows what to do when they're standing there for that long, and the teachers never know exactly when to stop it. One time, the whole school got together, and we did it at an assembly, and it just went on, and the principal was like, okay, thank you very much, and we just kept going, and I don't know why that's so fun, but it is. My best friend is crazy stupid hot, and that's never intimidated me. Why should it? But what does intimidate me about her is how pretty she sleeps. Because she falls asleep on her side like a normal human, and then when she's in her dream state or whatever, it turns her into Sleeping Beauty and she shifts onto her back and she clasps her hands across her chest like this and sleeps like that all night long. Meanwhile, on my half of the room, I'm curled up like a roly-poly beneath the covers. It's just pillows and blankets. You can't even tell if I'm there. But if you poke it, there's something a little bit less lumpy, and that's me. But if our apartment caught on fire and the firemen rushed in to save us, they would sweep Princess Kelly out of her bed, and they would look over at my bed and think that's just a pile of blankets.
This is why you never go to the well on your own. In 1983, a young boy was camping with his family on Roan Mountain in North Carolina when his mom asked him to head on down the path and get some water from the well. When the boy didn't return, his mom went to check on him and he was gone. A massive search party was launched to find him, but with temperatures rapidly dropping and finding no trace of him, the family braced for the worst. Then, miraculously, on the 7th day of the search, the boy shows up on the mountaintop in an area they had already searched, healthy and clean. When they asked the boy, "Where have you been?" he said he had been at the well when a tall, faceless man showed up behind him, scooped him up, and brought him to the top of the mountain where he kept him in his cabin all week. After the boy gave a very detailed description of exactly where this cabin was on the mountain, the police were eager to go find it and confront this guy. But the park superintendent just raised his hand and said, "Guys, it's pointless. I've worked here 40 years. There are no cabins on Roan Mountain."